Recorded live with little or no editing. It's Defense Up Cosmic Crucible Edition. We have a group of super duper smart people plus myself that help me out with these. So if you don't like what you hear, you can go find and blame them. Today it was Reaper and Pathfinder Gaming in there helping me go over these. If you want to catch that stuff live, just find me on Twitch. Links in the description. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We start around 10-ish. Here is Central Time. I know my stuff says that I'm still Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I'm lazy and don't really fix those things. Anyways, here we go. We got some great ideas, some real game-changing stuff in this one. There have been a lot of things coming out over the past 24, 48 hours that are kind of mixing things up. Some different counters and counters to those counters. So we're going to talk about that. Right here we have Infinity Watch in room 1. Now, if you're going to run the Tangled Web on defense, I suggest that you keep this for offense as a counter for some of those Tangled Web teams that we find. It works pretty good, but we'll talk about some ways that you screw this team up on offense. So on defense, this is fine. The ISOs are fine. Some people make Moondragon a healer. Doesn't really matter. It's just important that you get Nebula as a skirmisher and a few strikers on there to really bring out the damage potential of this team. They get shut down pretty easily by like a Young Avengers because they can't do their assist mechanic in there. That can screw them up too. But this team is going to soak up turns for sure. You can beat them. They're not stopping anybody, but it's going to take a few swings to knock them down, and that's why they're a pretty decent team for defense. This one's done right. I can give this one an A. Over here, we have the Wakandans with Taskmaster. We're not super excited about this on defense. I think it's a better team for offense. If you're not comfortable using them on offense, then okay, throw them in here as a defensive kind of filler team. But there's stuff that beats it. They're not really shining right now with the Age of X going on. Taskmaster doesn't exactly synergize really well with this team. I mean, yeah, he's going to be doing assists for Killmonger, but it's not great. I like the ISOs. The placement on this is fine. M'Baku, I don't know if M'Baku's a better pick than Taskmaster or not. Mostly, we like to see this team on offense. We'd like to see it with Black Panther 1 million BC in here for an offensive team that strikes fast and gets in there and really gets those kills quick on some some good teams that you wouldn't really think that they work well. I can give this an A if it's not a team that you want on your offensive list, but I think most players should look at this team and go, should they be on my offense first? And then if it's a no, then you can throw them in here as a more of a filler defense, really. All right, team number 3, we have the Tangled Web with the Dad Bros and Kingpin. Kingpin in here as a fortifier. That's important. Make sure he's a fortifier. He summons a minion that has 2 death proof and a taunt, meaning that your opponent has to come in here with like a higher powered Zemo to strip that taunt. Doom can do some things with it, sort of. Kingpin messes up a lot of different counters. I had trouble with this when I ran into it with the Infinity Watch. Pathfinder says it's totally doable as long as your name isn't Run 7. So that's up to you. I think a better build would be to replace Kingpin, with Emma and throw in the Eternals in place of the Dad Bros. That makes this team very fast, very powerful, hard to get in front of, hard to stop. It might be a 2-tap team in that place. The best move, however, and we're all starting to agree on this, is pull your Tangled Web and use them for offense. You can do a mirror into almost any Tangled Web team and add Emma or add Cable. Your choice. They go first, they go fast. You get to stun and traumatize their Weaver, and once their Weaver is shut down, you own that match. So I would like to see you either pull the Tangled Web team or pull the Infinity Watch team. My favorite choice is to pull the Tangled Web. I will be pulling the Tangled Web from my defense to use on offense and try out some compositions there. Overall, though, this isn't too bad. Now, Daemonic, whose defense this is, I don't know if I mentioned that, they're operating at Diamond 1 or Diamond 2, I'm not sure, but they're in Diamond. I think this might be a little bit of a small team for Diamond. I think the best choice for Daemonic is to pull this team and use them on offense. Now, if we're pulling all these teams, we got to come up with some defenses to fill in for them, and that's where we come to this team. I personally would not use Phoenix on this team. She's a somewhat of an improvement. However, the SA Kestrel team's going to rip through this, no problem. The Young Avengers can beat this, even with Phoenix in it. I think just throw Kitty Pryde or like a Scarlet Witch or somebody else in there. That might be the way to go instead of Phoenix. And then you can use the Phoenix Uncanny Magic team on defense as more of a filler that still catches people off guard. It's very powerful during this Age of X era that we're in here. However, everything on this team is technically done right. And if this is what you want to use, I can give this team an A. The placement's pretty darn good. Yeah, I think this is an A for the team. Remember, when Phoenix dies, Dark Phoenix does not get her ISO class. They do get the bonus stats from the ISO class, but not the ISO class itself, so you will be down a striker. You got Bishop as a striker, and the rest are all skirmishers. That's so Bishop does some double tap damage with whoever is getting called on the assist. Pretty good. Let's move on. This is something a little bit new to the scene. We have a few people that came into chat and talked about it. Purple Sticky showed off some results he had with it. Totally beatable team, really tough. It can catch people off guard. You notice that we have 2 members of Death Seed mixed in with the Weapon X team. Now, there's my mother calling me. Perfect timing, Mom. So, we are using Omega Red for a gamma counter. It is the latest, hottest thing, and we're going to talk about how to disrupt that and why we might want to go ahead and use Weapon X on defense in something like this. Now, Magneto is obviously better in raids, and he's obviously better on his 5-piece team, but he's still clumping, he's still blinding, he's still doing the usual Magneto things. He's still a powerful character that just got reworked, so he's pretty good. We like that there are 3 strikers and 2 people putting out vulnerables because Sabretooth jumps around a lot. He's got a lot of crit built into his kit. Magneto as a skirmisher is okay. I think as a raider might be a better choice for this build to get more vulnerables out there because Lady Deathstrike and Omega Red especially. Well, actually, now with Psylocke's basic counterattack is really good too. So all 3 of those strikers are pretty powerful, and you want to make sure that there's enough vulnerables out there. So for me, I think this is more of a B team. Depends on how much you want to use the new hybrid Omega Red counter into Gamma, and we'll talk about that next. And then I think Magneto should probably be a raider for this build. I think in raids, he's going to be other things. Probably a striker in raids, actually, because of that sweet basic, but that's a raid conversation. Anyway, let's move on to the next team and see what we got here. This is Gamma in 6. It's nothing new. We're putting Gamma in 6, so the Red Hulk, he hits harder, he goes faster. It reduces the amount of counters that go into this, but there is a new counter out there. It's Red Guardian next to Doom, or Star-Lord next to Doom next to Red Guardian, or some variant of that. Basically, Red Hulk goes into the Red Guardian, smashes Doom, puts him below 50%. Doom gets his energy, goes into Time Platform, and takes along for the ride the Omega Red that you have over here. That Omega Red can then be used to absolutely annihilate the Red Hulk, and this team falls pretty fast once he's out of there. It's a really powerful build. It's a little tricky. It depends on whether the Gamma team is in room 6 or room 5. This Gamma team is built pretty much to spec. I'd like to see Skirmisher on Brawn, but otherwise that's fine. I'm running mine as a full healer team. It's working out pretty well. Pathfinder runs it as a full healer team also. It's a little tricky there. But that gets beat just as well as the correct ISOs, or correct as we're saying they are. So, do you want to use that Red Hulk, Omega Red into this Red Hulk counter? If no, then I think this is a great defense. But if you want to reserve it for the Gamma team in 6 or 5, if you're doing it in 5, Red Hulk doesn't get the damage, and so you're gonna want to have to put Star-Lord next to your Doom. So Doom is forced into the Time Platform using the special for energy, etc., etc. Anyways, if that's what you want to do, you should. Now, that counter that I just described, let's talk about how to counter that counter. If we were to take Abomination out of this room and put Kestrel in here, Kestrel's gonna wreck shop on that counter. Doom can't summon in any bots. It just doesn't work anymore. So it doesn't matter that Doom goes on the Time Platform. He's not gonna be able to destroy Red Hulk. In fact, they'll probably just piss him off. So that's how you counter that. And that's something I'm going to be doing, is taking Abomination out, putting Kestrel in. No one can use that fancy new counter anymore. And we're going to put a stop to that before it even gets started. That'll free up your Omega Red for room 5 like this. And then over here, instead of using SA Kestrel on this team, you're going to have to get good with those Young Avengers or some other counter like that to beat this team easily. So it's a trickle-down effect of what you're using on offense, what you're using on defense. All in all, This team has done pretty well. I'm going to go A- because I don't like the striker on Braun. I don't think that's a good choice. The placement's fine. Everything else is fine. You could switch them up to healers if you got the ISOs to spare. But of course, there's a whole conversation about ions these days and how you're going to get to Apocalypse. So be careful with all of that. Anyway, Daemonic, thank you for sending in your screenshots of your team and letting us go over that. If you want your team featured on Defense Up for either Crucible or War, links are in the description. Find me down below. Send me some screenshots. We'll get you on the list. Remember, guys, don't just have a good game. Be good to yourselves and others too, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.